Well, we all want to feel like we can be good investors, but where do you start? Oh, I'm not good with money, you might say. Oh, I'm terrible with numbers. The head of strategy and global macro for Logos LP, Matthew Castel, right? And Chief Investment Officer of Logos LP, Peter Mantas, say that's not necessarily what you need. You don't necessarily need to be a good numbers person, right? Or have specific financial knowledge. You're going to share with us some information that skills that regular people like us can have. Let's talk about Logos LP, your business. How long has it been running? What is it?
Sure. So actually, Matthew and I have been involved in the stock market at a very young age. But fortunately enough for us, we met during law school, and we developed this interdisciplinary investment strategy, which set the foundation for Logos LP Investment Partnership. But we also, through Logos, provide an information service that provides actionable ideas to investors so that they can take control of their financial future.
So you each, in your own lives, were interested in the stock market from childhood?
Very, very young age, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Both of you. And then, because of that common interest, you managed to bump into each other
exactly.
when you were in school.
Exactly. Yeah.
Both having a similar approach to investing.
Which is what?
So, basically our approach to investing is looking towards the long term and choosing quality businesses. And that's basically at its core. And also having the right kind of behaviors to become a successful investor. Because we believe that to be a wise investor, there's kind of two parts to it. There's choosing solid businesses, and then there's also the behavioral side, which is about making solid decisions. And that's what we're here to talk about today.
Okay. And so for those of us who think we're not good with math or numbers or investing, what are the 5 non-financial tips that you have for us?
So the first one would be embracing your natural sort of aversion to loss. So a lot of people have this aversion to loss. Like, for example, think about a relationship you might have had. And you think back to it and you remember all of those 3 or 4 bad times much more more pronounced in your mind than all of the good times that you had. So the danger here.
True.
Yeah, the danger here is that with that aversion to loss that's natural, if the market's going down, let's say one day, you'll go ahead and maybe want to sell all your stocks and because you want to avoid future loss, and that actually is going to be a bad decision, potentially in that situation. So that would be the first skill.
So, not wanting to pull the plug immediately, not focusing on the negative.
Right. Exactly.
So instead, trying to focus on the positive.
Yeah.
Instead of bailing, what should we be doing when the stock market goes down?
So that kind of leads us to our next point.
Yeah, so the second most important factor or skill for an investor is to really limit your options. Whether you're shopping for a shirt in the mall or you're investing, it's really important that you have a lot of options, but that can also create anxiety and decision paralysis.
And then you become paralyzed, yes.
You don't know what to do.
You're paralyzed.
You're
with indecision.
Absolutely. So what we suggest is to really limit your options in your investing world and to seek help from someone that you trust who can give you insight based on your personal situation.
How many companies do you suppose are out there? Millions?
Yes.
A lot.
Yeah, there's a lot.
How on earth do you narrow it down?
Yeah, so it can be overwhelming, and so that's kind of what we're suggesting here is to, try and limit your options by, as Peter was saying, finding someone's judgment that you trust, or information that you think is good. So that way, instead of having the 500-600 companies to choose from, you have maybe 4 or 5 that fit your investment goals and that you can choose from.
Can it be something that you have a personal knowledge of, or something that you like? I like the environment. So you pick companies from that genre, if
Absolutely,
you will? Can it work that way?
The best way is to start broad. Pick what kind of sectors you kind of relate to that you're familiar with. So, for example, if you're familiar with media, or if you're familiar with entertainment, or if you're familiar with food, it's good to start broad and then kind of narrow down into the sectors or the companies that you really like. But really, the most important thing is the behaviors that are involved, because no matter what type of investment you have, if it's quality, if you don't make the right behavioral decisions, it's not going to go well for you.
Okay, which leads us to point number 3.
Right, so to build on the last point, although you want to seek help and get information from people, you don't want to get too much information, because then you're swimming in a sea of opinions, which is never good. So what we suggest is to set rules for yourself given specific situations. So for example, let's say the Dow Jones is down 500 points. What do? What's your rule? Right, do you buy on a specific day? If it's up 500 points, do you sell on that specific day? So if you have these specific rules, you're able to take advantage of market opportunities, and you won't overreact if the market's not in your favor.
So then you're making decisions based on fact, not emotion. right?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, it's more just sort of to be able to ensure that you can stick to your plan, right? Because it's important to have a plan, you know, when you're investing, obviously.
Yeah.
But that way, when emotions start to take over in that kind of a situation and all these opinions are going around, people are selling stocks like crazy, I don't know what to do, you've already set a rule for yourself beforehand that you can stick to in that kind of a situation. So that, as you said, the decision is based on principle rather than just emotion.
Good. And that will hold you in good stead in the long run.
Absolutely.
All right, what's the next point?
So the next one would be to question your assumptions.
Oh.
So this is kind of linked to the last point in the sense that because there's so many opinions and different facts going around, you can only remember so much. And so what people tend to do as investors is sort of latch on to a couple of facts and pieces of information that make sense to them, that they believe in. And that isn't necessarily a bad thing because, as I said, you can't remember everything. But that can lead to poor decision making because faced with an investment decision, you may always just keep recalling the same fact, right?
That tape that just plays over and over again.
Exactly, that same fact or idea or something that you heard on TV that made sense to you. But that actually may not be relevant to that particular scenario whatsoever. So what we suggest there is before making an investment decision, stop, relax, and look at the assumptions that you're making and the facts that you're using to make sure that they're the most relevant ones.
Like, for example, I don't know, that buying oil would hurt the environment.
Perhaps, or another one would be related to oil in that, I talk to a lot of people and they ask me, should I be buying into oil? Because the price of oil has been dropping like crazy. And so they're like, it would make sense to buy oil because it's got to go up in price, right? But that assumption may not actually be true. I would actually question that and say, is the right question, why oil has gone down so much, or is the right question, why was oil so high to begin with? Right?
Okay.
So this is an example of these types of assumptions that you need to really think critically about before you make decisions.
Good point. Okay, next point.
So the final one...
This is the last one. Okay.
The final point is actually a really tough one, and that is embracing your mistakes. So you know what? Today we all make mistakes, right? But we also have this tendency to overestimate our knowledge and our capabilities. we get overconfident in the stock market, right? And we make investment decisions based on, a lot of ideas that we have that we think are right. May or may not be right, but the danger is that we make a quick decision without doing the proper amount of research, right? So what we suggest there is setting up the mistakes you've made on a piece of paper, writing them down. And so that way, faced with a new investment decision or a change in conditions, you've got that mistake there, so you can avoid making it again. Stay humble and clear-minded the next time you've got to make an investment decision.
Really good points. That's amazing. So you guys work together at Logos LP. Do you give financial advice, or how do you help your clients?
So essentially, we don't like to say that what we provide is advice. We like to think of it as ideas, right? So if you go to our website at logoslp.com, you have a series of blog posts, and also we're on the brink of releasing a newsletter which allows people who are interested in the stock market and interested about investing, whether they're currently investors or thinking about becoming investors, to educate themselves and find the kind of ideas and information that they can trust to help them.
There.
Exactly.
LogosLP.com. Really good advice, guys. Thank you so much.
It's our pleasure.
I appreciate it.
All right. We're going to be better investors now. Don't go anywhere. We've got more Sam Cash coming right up.